Welcome to Geek Fandom Media. I'm your host, Chris, and you guys, I just got home from watching Superman. James Gunn, written and directed, the start of the DCU. Arguably the most important project of James Gunn's career. Now, I like to be honest, and I like to be transparent with my audience. I went into this film with extremely high expectations. I've been on board since day one. Since I found out James Gunn was going to be taking over DC Studios and he was going to be personally handling Superman. I've been on board since the first trailer, the first teaser. I've loved everything that I've seen from this film. Everything. So what did I think about Superman and the start of the DCU, you guys? Okay, look. I enjoyed the movie. I really did. I wouldn't go as far as to say I loved the movie. I wouldn't say that. But I had a damn good time with this film. A really good time. There were some great moments, great character stuff that I really appreciated with the direction James Gunn really took. A lot of standouts, supporting characters. I took some notes, you guys. I was like, I gotta take some notes as soon as I get home because there's just too much stuff to talk about. Let's talk about the big one. The change of the source material. The change of Jor-El, played by, spoiler alert, Bradley Cooper. He was sent to Earth to conquer, to destroy, and to ultimately breed. I didn't necessarily hate the idea. I was like, okay, it's a different take. This is a reimagining of a modernized 2025 Superman. Okay, that's fine with me. I didn't mind it whatsoever. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Oh, wow. I was like, damn. James Gunn really went. You went there, Gunn. You went there. And I'm like, you're bold. You're very bold. So that has me to believe if he's keen to changing certain things with Superman, other DC characters might have a little bit of their origin story tweaked just a little bit. Just a little bit. Like, it wasn't overly tweaked. He just tweaked something that was very minor, I would say. But I didn't mind it whatsoever. I didn't. It gave Superman a bit of it more of a sense of disappointment. And you saw it. You saw how hurt he was. Because in that whole video, footage that he got from his parents in, the Fortress of Solitude, he only got the first half of the message. And then the rest was cut off, right? So he thought he was placed on this world to do good, to be the beacon of hope, to inspire, to help humanity grow and be Superman. So when he found out that second half of the message, he was devastated. So I didn't mind that whatsoever. David Cornsweet as Superman, you guys, I thought was brilliant. Modernized, modern day Superman, beautiful. Amazing work. Damn, he looked good in them red trunks. He was awesome. Clark Kent. Clark Kent was barely in this movie. I was like, yo, where's Clark, man? Let me some Clark Kent. Come on, give me the goofball. You know what I'm saying? Spilling the coffee, walking around the Daily Planet. Like, oh, sorry, Lois. He wasn't in this movie a lot. I was very surprised by that. Very surprised. But the little amount we had of Clark Kent was very effective. It was really good. Took a lot of inspiration from what Christopher Reeve did in the Richard Donner Superman film. I love the drastic change. The hypno glasses, a little bit corny, but that's okay. That was a little corny. This was a full-blown, geeky comic book movie to its fullest potential. James Gunn did not hold back. It was absolutely insanity to see some of the things that was happening. I was like, oh, wow, this is like a real comic book film. And I like that about it. I really appreciated that because at the end of the day, it comes from great source material, great comic book runs of Superman. So I was like, I dig that. So David Cornsweet absolutely nailed it. I cannot wait to see him in future projects. I cannot wait to see him interact with other characters. It was really good. He was fantastic. Supporting characters, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois, the heart and soul of the film. Loved her performance. Very strong performance. I love her demanding presence of just how serious she is and how professional she is as a journalist. I really enjoyed it. James Gunn really did a wonderful job writing Lois Lane. You know, there was a lot of tension moments between her and Clark or Superman when they had that whole interview spiel. She was like going at him. She was like, look, I'm not going to, jeopardize, my integrity because, we're banging. I'm going to ask you some serious questions, mofo. Questions that other journalists could potentially ask you further down the line, not just when you're going to interview yourself, Clark Kent. I thought that was kind of hilarious. Lois was great. Jimmy Olsen, fantastic. Love Jimmy Olsen. And he had his small role, but it was very effective to the story. The Justice Gang, I thought was wonderful. I was a little nervous how the Justice Gang were going to be portrayed. Guy Gardner was a lot of fun. He was a big old douchebag. I loved it. His bowl cut was ugly, but I love how they, effectively used his personality, used his powers. I cannot wait to see how he's going to be into the world of the Lanterns with Hal and with freaking Jon Stewart. That's going to be quite fascinating to me. Hawkgirl was dope. Didn't really get to do much. Isabella Merced was decent in the role. The big standout was Mr. Terrific, Eddie Athegi. Look, James Gunn, I know you met with Ryan Coogler. This is your potential to give Eddie Athegi his own Mr. Terrific film because he was a scene stealer. He was great. Loved his costume, loved his look, loved the T-spheres. It was awesome. I was like, yo, I need more of this, brother. Like, he was absolutely a scene stealer for me. I loved it. Krypto was adorable, of course. I mean, it's Krypto. There was a certain scene that I really enjoyed with Krypto, but boy, oh boy, man, Krypto is a bad dog. A bad dog that's not Superman's, that's not Clark's. It's a foster dog, and we'll get into that. Tessmacher was cool. She had a little side thing with Jimmy, you know what I'm saying? But she was dating Lex. She was, giving all the information, that. I was like, okay, I like it. Metamorpho, another standout. I really enjoyed Metamorpho. The emotion behind Metamorpho, and because Lex had his son, he was, a prisoner to Lex. And, he had to do, and, I love the effect of creating kryptonite. I thought that was brilliant. And I love what kryptonite did to Superman. It turned him into a full-out zombie. It was, I was like, God damn. It was just like rotting him from the inside out. Now, you saw it, and I was like, this is absolutely gross. But I loved it. Metamorpho, great. Love the power sets. Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult, you guys. He was great. Wonderful. Really good. Really menacing. Powerful. Scary. Unpredictable. Brilliant. Genius. Playboy. I'm going the whole Iron Man route. He was really good in this role. I always say Michael Rosenbaum is the GOAT Lex Luthor, and he still is the GOAT Lex Luthor, but he was great in this role. The emotionality, the tense moments, his hatred, you felt it. He was a terrifying antagonist. He was a terrifying villain. And boy, did he create a lot of havoc for everybody. He was a headache, dude. And poor Superman. I mean, he knew everything. He studied Superman like the back of his hand. He knew every movement, and we'll get into like the other characters that he was controlling and using, typing in the codes, X3, 2395. 1937, I thought that was kind of silly, but I was like, damn, Lex is a genius, pure genius in this movie. But his ultimate goal was to destroy Superman, destroy him physically, mentally, emotionally, and tear him down all over social media. Poor Superman, dude. He had evil monkeys on the internet. Superman's a super shit. I was like, oh, that is really in the movie. I heard that rumor, I didn't really believe it, but I was like, okay, that's really, really in the movie. But yeah, man, Lex was great. Like I said, using social media, controlling, Ultraman and, the Hammer of Barivia, which ended up just being Ultraman, but Ultraman ended up being an evil version, a clone version of Superman. I was like, oh, we're going there already. But, there's a potential for him to be possibly Bizarro. That would be kind of cool. But like I said, we kind of did just see that, I don't know how far James Gunn wants to go back into that world. But I thought that was pretty awesome. I was like, okay. You know what? David Cornsweet with long hair looks like the Winter Soldier. I couldn't get that out of my mind. I was like, David Cornsweet with long hair looks exactly like the Winter Soldier. And I was like, this is absolutely insanity to me. But Ultraman, you guys, extremely powerful. Lex was collecting all the DNA samples from Superman's action scenes, and he was like, give me all this. Oh, hairs, oh God, that's a pube, that's disgusting. He had every single piece of DNA to clone Superman. So that was pretty cool. Lex is a genius. Like I said, he's a genius. The engineer was cool, you know. Lex created her. She had her biotech and, you know, she did her thing. Got beat down a couple of times too. You know, also did some very disturbing things. Putting herself into Superman's mouth, his lungs. That was absolutely disturbing. The pocket dimension was absolutely crazy. The pocket dimension was absurd. I was like, man, this is kind of wild. This is a very different Superman film. That's why I said it's a full-blown campy comic book movie. And I'm like, I'm there for it. Absolutely. But, you know, the whole pocket dimension and Lex, you know, using that to, you know, get to this place or that place, you know, potentially destroying the whole Earth. Having prisoners was crazy. Ex-girlfriends and just a whole bunch of random people in this pocket dimension. I was like, damn, do you even feed these people, Lex? You are truly cruel. Lex is so cruel, y'all. Oh my God, nigga, this whole wonderful stuff. Cameos. We got Peacemaker. You know, Peacemaker Season 2 drops next month. He showed up for a little bit. The ending cameo of Supergirl coming back to pick up her dog, Krypto. That was cool. I was like, oh shit, Supergirl. Okay, can't wait for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Or is it just Supergirl? But I was like, I'm fascinated. I'm interested because tonally, she's so different from Clark. She's so different, you know? And to see Krypto, you know, playing all playfully and just pound her into the ground, I was like, oh my God, Krypto, you are a terrible dog. Can you stop for once? But that was cool. You know, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow releases next year, so quite fascinating. The action was dope. Love the flight sequences. When he went full Superman, it was awesome. The heat vision, the X-ray vision, everything was dope, dude. The cooling breath, it was awesome, man. I really enjoyed the action sequences. When he was going up against Lex's his robots or whatever, you know, I thought that was dope. And then the full heat vision, I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome. So I thought the action was really, really impressive. You know, I was like, okay, I can definitely get behind what James Gunn is doing because I was like, Man of Steel did a wonderful job. Zack Snyder did an incredible job with the action in Man of Steel. And I was like, a little worried. I was like, man, how's James Gunn going to handle Superman action sequences? And how can it compare to Man of Steel? But it didn't disappoint at all. And this is a much weaker version of Superman too. Like, he's kind of weak. He was getting his ass whipped a little bit. I'll say, you know, not as strong. James Gunn confirmed that. He's not going to be punching through planets and stuff like that. Or, you know, going into space, going around the planet and go back in time. Like, hold on, give me 1 second. That's not the Superman in this film. So he's a much more weaker version of Superman. But that makes him more human. And I like that. I like it a lot. Like I said, we saw Kryptonite for the first time in this film. I thought that was brilliant the way they did it. The Fortress of Solitude was awesome. Boy, that was beautiful in Dolby Cinema, you guys. The sound, everything, the visuals. I was like, oh yeah. Fortress of Solitude was absolutely stunning. Mon Pa Kent. I'm a big fan of Smallville. So that's my favorite iteration of Mon Pa Kent. Jonathan Martha Kent Smallville. I didn't really care so much about this version of Mon Pa Kent. You know, I didn't really get I didn't really like believe, you know, like I didn't believe it, you know. I wanted to feel something, but I ultimately didn't. And I was like, man, that's unfortunate because, like I said, I love Martha and Jonathan in Smallville. Like, oh my God, like I used to look up to them. And through my childhood, I took inspiration. I took life lessons from that whole series, Smallville. You know, so I was surprised I didn't really feel much from Mon Pa Kent. You know, I was a little bit disappointed in that. Some of my favorite moments when Krypto went full Hulk smash on Lex. I was like, oh, that's what you get, Lex. That's what you get. You get your ass whipped all through your office, too. That was hilarious. He was beating the shit out of Lex. That reminded me of Hulk when he did that shit to what was it, Loki in the first Avengers film. I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And all the scenes of Mr. Terrific, you know, he just really nailed it. God dang, he was so good. More Mr. Terrific, please. I need more. Some of the weak points of the film. A little messy, a little convoluted, a little overstuffed, way fast-paced. I needed it slowed down a little bit. Let me put my plate down. Let me separate my waffles. Let me separate my eggs. Let me separate my bacon, my turkey bacon, my biscuits. And let me settle in. I felt like it was go mode, go mode, go mode, go mode, go mode. Editing was a little off too. Very fast paced, a little bit too too quick for my liking. Yeah, that's like my only weak point. But I thoroughly, really enjoyed this film. Honestly, you know, the change to the origin story didn't really bother me. Curious to see how that's going to affect Zod, and if Zod does appear eventually, you know, now that him and, you know, Jor-El kind of have the same ideology, how does that work? You know what I'm saying? So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. But the score was great. John Williams, you know, that whole theme incorporated to what John Murphy was able to accomplish. Absolutely wonderful. Visual effects, action, supporting characters. I enjoyed Superman, you guys. And this is a very exciting start to a very exciting future for DC Studios. Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to be seeing this movie multiple times, you guys. And who knows? Maybe after my second viewing, I'll love it. But as of right now, I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I had a great time with it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you seen Superman? If you haven't, why are you watching my spoiler review? You just like spoilers, don't you? But honest thoughts and opinions, you guys. Any of the topics, characters, stuff like that I talked about. You know, Lex creating this whole massive freaking war with, you know, the Bolivian shit. It's just absolutely, Lex is just, he's on the level of almost Joker as far as like a villain for me. He was really good. Lex was really damn good, you guys. He was great. Well, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And of course, thank you guys for taking time out of your day for watching Geek Fandom Media. Peace.